When it comes to building horsepower, 351 Windsor is one of the forgotten powerhouses that Ford ever built. It's a shame they didn't make more of these in like passenger vehicles. Even if you have it purposely built for a daily driver street car, or you got it purposely built for a track car, making good horsepower with a 351 Windsor is always a great option. What we have here on the stand is a 393 stroker, which consists of a 351 Windsor junkyard block that we built with a 3.85 crankshaft, 30 over pistons, and a set of budget-minded scat rods. Made about 470 to the wheels with about 500 torque, which naturally aspirated, that's pretty good numbers considering we were using a factory computer and some old tech like the Modes Corridors. Unfortunately for our 393 stroker, we had a catastrophic failure. So today's format in the video, we're gonna be tearing this 393 stroker apart. You're gonna see a little bit of a time lapses. I'll try to talk as much as I can and kind of update you. These are TrickFlow 227. This particular block has a man cam, stage 5 TrickFlow cam in it with a TrickFlow intake and a TrickFlow set of heads. And like I said, it made 470 to wheels, real good power. But like I said, we gotta take it apart. Let me grab some wrenches and let's get started. So this is definitely a pretty nice piece right here. EFI carb style. This has been port matched to match the 227s. Instead of running this style intake, we're gonna save this intake for another build. When we had the 387 stroker, we had a box R, which is kind of hard to find right now, but they're on their way. They're still getting built. First quarter of 2026, you will start seeing the 9.5 deck box R intakes that everybody's been looking for. But for now, we're gonna take this one off. We're gonna put this on the shelf, and then we're gonna go back to that style intake, and we're gonna try to make a little bit more power with the 393 when it gets back here in the shop. Didn't expect to have to do this in 2025, 2026, but it is what it is. Because we run naturally aspirated 80-pound Ford Racing injectors. We're gonna send these off to get them cleaned because E85 has been ran through this motor. With E85, one of the best things you can do is run some pump gas through it at the end of the season, maybe a tank of it, or you just run it for a little bit. It'll clean your fuel system out. You'd be surprised on how well that works. But we use an Uplon top lube that helps keep the E85 and the injectors clean. But we're gonna send them out and get them clean and flow tested and make sure they're good while it's out. So one of the best things you can do when you're taking an engine apart is go get you some freezer bags. Now, I don't like to use the cheap bags, but I mean, if it's not gonna be apart very long, it's fine. But I go buy me some freezer slider bags and I can put my bolts in there. That way I know where they went and I know where they go back when they come back together. Well, that's a pretty good sign right off the bat. I don't see a lot of metal shavings or anything in here. That doesn't mean that they're not in here, because the block's got to come apart and get cleaned and go into, got to clean the oil galleys really good. I think we caught that pretty early before it actually seized up. We'll see what it looks like underneath. Just like the other video, we know it's pretty nasty on a couple of the bearings themselves. But yeah, these 227s are a really serious set of heads. And these are the 9HDs too. They do really well. 58cc 227s, super good cylinder head. I can't wait to see what these things will do with the better tune. So when you're building a 351 Windsor, whether it's stock bottom end, stock block, in 94, 95, 96, 97, the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years of the Windsor production was actually roller blocks. And you can see this is an actual 351 Windsor roller block. As you can see, it's got factory bosses for the spider, cam retainer, dog bone retainer, whatever you want to call it. I still chose to run link bar lifters. This is something that you can do. These are the TrickFlow link bar lifters. What the link bar lifter allows you to do is allows you to skip the whole machining process of converting your 351 Windsor over to roller. It also gives you some pretty good options as far as limited travel and it takes the guesswork out of the, you know, putting roller lifters in your 351 Windsors. They're pretty pricey. That's why I'm always preaching, try to find you a roller block if you're trying to do a budget build, because they already got this in there from the factory, and you can just stick your 302 camshaft in it if you have a 302 already built and you're just ready to upgrade. Now, as for a harmonic balancer, I like to use the Trick Flow. It's got removable weights, you'll see when we remove it, and it's got these little spacers that come with it. But it's always been a pretty good balancer for me. Yeah, definitely was working pretty good. Not a lot of issues in the bore. Man, it was nice. Got a little bit on the side skirt there. Not a big deal. Yeah, this side looks pretty good too. Not terrible. You know, again, it doesn't matter, it's coming all apart anyways, but at least the bore pretty clean to begin with. At this point, I'm pretty happy with what it looks like inside. It's gonna be a pretty simple rebuild. I mean, this motor was just put back together. It doesn't have very many miles and barely has broke in to begin with. It just kind of sucks that we got to take it apart and have to redo it for what would be now the third time, because this used to be the 387 stroker, which used to have stock Fox body pistons, stock rods, and this same crankshaft style. And unfortunately had the same problem that this motor had, so goes to tell you something. So we had to take a quick cleanup break, and we still got quite a bit of a mess. We didn't realize we had that much antifreeze in the block, but we've already been through this in another video. You can see some of the red marks of some of the caps that were of interest, but we did end up taking them all loose. So getting that part of the engine apart is going to be pretty easy, and you'll be able to see some of the bearings. We took a couple of them out, but one thing I'm worried about is the rods themselves. As we had found a couple bearings. I think this one was the one that had one laid over top of it. So it had a spun bearing in it, and there was a couple of them that were pretty trash. But most of the bearings were in really good condition in the last video when we checked it, because we were just gonna switch bearings out, fix it, and, you know, put it back on the road. Balancer off, we'll get this timing chain, it's only 1 bolt, and we'll get this crank out and these pistons and the cam. And that's what we do on the channel when we, you know, I'm not gonna blame the crankshaft, I'm not gonna blame anybody but myself. When you break something, you just fix it and you move forward. You know, you learn from your mistakes. Timing chain looks nice and tight. This is the Trick Flow with the Torrington in the back. So we got to make sure we put that and bag that all together. Before we take this timing chain out, you notice that we use the big pin in the camshaft. This is always recommended, even if you have to shave it down a little bit. So sometimes the timing chains come with a copper bushing, and sometimes they come with a Torrington bearing. Go ahead and take this camshaft out. Now this is the Trick Flow Stage 5. Looks in really good condition, as I would hope it would be. Pretty nice piece. It's a man cam. Yeah, it's a bad bitch right here. Now we put a bronze gear on our distributor. Okay, so we're pretty much at the point to where we're gonna take main caps off and rod caps off. Like I had said, this has already been kind of loose and kind of ran through already. And you'll get a chance firsthand once again to take a peek at the bearings, and hopefully the rods are, you know, we can reuse the rods. I don't know, we'll find out. Yeah, this looks pretty good. We'll get all the rest of them out and then we'll inspect the main cap. So I'll get all the pistons out real quick. I'm gonna show you the other rod bearing real quick. This was the one that was kind of real copperish. So we're kind of worried about saving the rod itself. That was one of the major issues. These are a set of like budget scat rods. And these are Trick Flow pistons, as you can see here, the Trick Flow number. So this is the one that actually had a spun bearing, and it was in, so this might be the one rod that I actually have to replace. You can definitely see it here on the crankshaft. where it kind of spun up a little bit. But again, we're going to be cutting this crank to the exact, we're going to go to like 2.5 thousandths, maybe a little bit loose. There's nothing wrong with having a loose motor. It obviously was too tight and the crankshaft didn't like it at all. And you can see we actually took a new bearing and we put it in its place so I can still turn it around, but you can see definitely some heat. This is the one that spun. It was on top of this bottom part, the top part of the rod, whatever you want to call it. It was right here, it was stacked up. Like I told you, I don't know if it was oil starved or whatever, but this is the front bearing. Like I said, 2 rod bearings went real bad in this motor, started making noise, and you can see the back side of the crankshaft. There's no, there's no polishing that inside the car. We'll just cut this down, like I said, 10 thou, and we'll make the clearances right in this motor, and then we're gonna build it back a lot better than what it was. It's gonna be strong. It'll be a little bit looser this time, and we're not gonna make the mistake like we did in the last 2 motors. So all the other bearings came out pretty good. Wasn't really any issues at all. Like 6 of the other 8 rods. So this is the rod bearing right next to the one that failed the most, because the rod bearing that was right next to it's in really, really good condition. There you have it. That's pretty much what the problem was, is a couple of those journals. And this happened to me on my 387 stroker too. Now that we're kind of digging into the last parts of this video, this is the same crankshaft that we used in my 387, and almost the same journals were the issue. I don't know if it was a fabricating issue when the crank was made, or same here. See here, tale of 2 different rod bearings here. This one was in really good condition, and this one was all copper. So they weren't oil starved, it's just the clearances weren't right. I don't know why. But again, we're gonna take it out and we're gonna make sure that it's right this time. And I don't wanna be taking this motor apart again. Last thing I'm gonna show you real quick, I'm gonna pop all these main bearings off and show you, and then we'll finish this video up. Number 1, look mint, beautiful. 2, beautiful. Check that out, beautiful. Number 4, perfect. And this would be the one that would be starved the most. Looks really good. I mean, it's used, but it looks really good. Had a bad bearing here, one here, and definitely one here. So this one started, actually I'll take that back, that's not the bad one. This one was the one that spun, and that's the one that, well, these just obviously didn't have the right proper clearances. Looked like there was some more scoring here on the crankshaft, so who's to say that wasn't going to happen to some of the other bearings? When these are made from the factory, wherever they're made at, and this was an Eagle, they're made with a standard size. They could be a little bit off. We checked all the bearing clearances for the most part, thought they were going to be okay, but now that we know what we know about this crank, it's a good crank. We've already got it balanced, but at this point, we're just going to cut it and make it fit perfectly the way it's supposed to. So on the top side of the mains as well. But we'll go ahead and get the caps put in a bag and get all these parts stored in their proper containers, and we'll get this block over to Dave, as this block's going to have to be tanked at this point. All the oil gallery has gone through, washed. It's going to be not a hard rebuild, but we got to wash everything, get everything clean again. Guys, this is just what happens in the channel. This is part of getting your shit off the jack stands. It could have been a lot worse. Could have took out a bunch of other shit, but I didn't see any metal shavings in it. Having a little bit of time to do that, because we're gonna have to send the crankshaft off to get cut, and we'll be able to wash it real good and then build it back stronger than what it was to begin with. So let me know in the comments below what you think actually failed and maybe what happened with the 351 Windsor. We all know they struggle from a little bit of oil starvation, just from the factory, the way the oiling 351 Windsor rolls. And then let me know what you guys think of the build and how much power you think it's gonna make when we put it back together with the new Terminator X. If you get a chance, check out that join button, become a member of the channel. Helps to do things like this here on the channel. If you haven't subscribed already and you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Hit that like, hit that comment, let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. Appreciate you for watching.